Go in and ask ChatGPT, okay, I'm just starting out, craft me a 1 month plan to help me achieve my goals.
Today, I'm speaking with Kristin de Fuente, a design veteran who's worked across major brands like Qantas, IAG, and now working on our team at Torii.
You know, there will be autonomous agents going off and performing all these tasks. I think that there will still have to be humans in the loop.
Kristin is leading the charge in AI and design education. She's the co-founder of Gen AI Labs and is now helping teams humanize AI through hands-on workshops and mentorship.
You know, how do you bring everyone on the journey together so that no one gets left behind?
From building AI agents as design mentors to exploring what a one-person AI-powered design team could look like, this episode is packed with insights. Kristin, give me a background on who you are and a bit about what you've been doing with AI. How would you describe it to someone who you've just met?
I've been in design for over 20 years. Started off in graphic design on the Gold Coast, where I was brought up working with small to medium businesses, working on their printed material, their logos, their corporate literature, and got into mobile UX, UI design. Started off in gaming, actually, working with some record companies on social gaming apps at the time. That's how everyone was kind of experimenting with social gaming and second screen entertainment with theatre companies. And yeah, there was a real marketing twist, you know, quite experimental, which was really, really cool. And as soon as AI came into the fold and as soon as, you know, ChatGPT was launched, I was really keen to explore that area.
I think that's a good segue into today's topic, talking about how to humanize AI. And I think at the moment, a lot of people are pretty hesitant to jump into it. They're kind of resisting to a degree. And then that's on an individual level, but then on an enterprise level, it's there's no, I guess, formal training or formal education. And I think people are waiting for their management, their leadership to, I guess, make that decision for them and show them what to do and how to do it. And I think that's a big risk to both the individual contributor and larger organizations. But let's start with, I guess, humanizing AI. How do you break it down to make it a lot more simple, a lot more approachable, so people aren't scared of it and go, oh, this is fun. This is something that I can add to my tool set, and just get straight into it. How do you do it in your course?
Yeah, so we flew to Melbourne and ran a little bit of a workshop on Friday, and it was really about, okay, so you've got, with a focus on AI agents, you've got the system prompt that powers the agent. How do you break that down? How do you get people talking about it? How do you actually slow it down so that people really understand? And I've been finding, even in the way I've been teaching, you know, you can break things down to a certain level, but unless people talk about and sort of riff off it a little bit, they don't necessarily comprehend it. And so with tools these days, it's so easy to create everything. Everything is prompted for you. There's a magic wand and it can all be done for you. But just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it or you understand exactly what you're doing at the same time. So the way I was keen to really break it down was just to get back to basics, you know, step away from the laptop, break down the system prompt into something that anyone would understand. So for example, you know, what is an agent? An agent could be like a new a new teammate onboarding onto your team. You know, if you were hiring that person, what kind of values and what kind of things would you be looking for specifically in an AI? And in our case, we were building out an AI design mentor. What kind of things would you be really specifically looking for in a mentor who is onboarding onto your team, not to replace your team, but to empower and amplify your team and improve how your team may work, or, you know, just improve the capability of the team. So I was thinking about this from not as a replacement, but as an empowerment and an amplifier. And so when I was thinking about breaking things down, I thought, well, what is the prompt? How can we break the prompt down? And so really, you've got, what's their role? It's like a job description, right? It's like a job description. It's a bit of a culture guide, and it's a bit of an onboarding guide, all woven into one system prompt that powers this agent. And so what we did is we ran some activities. We had sticky notes, we had Sharpies, and we got into groups, and we just just kept it really simple. And we broke down the prompts into different little activities. And the first part was around the role, who was this new mentor or this new agent or this new person, if you were to humanize it, who is this new person onboarding onto your team? What are they all about? What's their mission? What do they do? What's their day-to-day look like? How do they show up? How do they talk? Do you want them to be direct, or do you want them to be, calm and careful? It's that the tone was quite an interesting topic of discussion. And then you've got output guardrails. So what kind of questions do you want, your mentor to ask or answer? What are things that are completely out of scope? And just, sort of breaking things down like that. And I asked the groups to, pretend you're on a hiring committee and you're crafting this job description. And so it just really sparked some really interesting conversation. We went from, what are your initial thoughts? So just give us some words and start putting them down on paper. And then I got everyone to look at the themes and start, grouping things up in themes. And we even had some scenarios where we asked, someone pretend to be the agent and someone, pretend to be a designer. And then you sort of throw a challenge to the agent, and the agent has to respond to the scenario. So it could be like, imagine you have a really anxious new starter starting for the first day, and they're a bit overwhelmed. How will your agent or your new team member come along and help them through the onboarding journey? So, it was a really interesting conversation. And we even started talking about what could a day in the life be like. So, it was most of the workshop was really about discussion and alignment. And it was interesting that out of all the teams, they approach things quite a little bit differently. So some lean towards wanting something more machine, more direct, more logical. Others were really, it's a POW, friendly and fun. And others sort of leaned towards, someone more empathetic and really supportive. So it just goes to show that when you're in a team environment, there are different individual needs the whole way, and you have to get that alignment.
I love it. You've taken such a design approach to, I guess, looking at it. I assume you were speaking to a room full of designers, so I'm sure that they took to the approach. Was there many people in the room that didn't really have much of an idea of what an AI agent was, and this was their first, I guess, glimpse into how to build an AI agent and what the purpose or use case would be for it? And how did you, I guess, go from starting? Because I guess if you throw, hey, today we're going to build an AI agent to anyone that hasn't really played with AI, right? It's probably pretty overwhelming. But taking them through this process where you're kind of building it, and it sounds like it was a pretty fun process to sit down and go, hey, let's think about this person as your teammate or your mentor. Like, what are the characteristics you want? And I'm sure that does humanize it quite a lot because you're giving it the traits that you want to see. It's like, how do you see people, I guess, adapting over time, or I guess understanding and sort of leaning into it the more you went on this process?
Yeah, I think at first everyone was a little bit like, there was a lot of questions. So everyone was asking more questions than answering. It's like, oh, what if it did this? What is it supposed to do? What are the, I think it was more about, well, what are your initial thoughts? Like, there were definitely people in the room that hadn't that we're relatively new to AI. And I think through this process, every layer of questioning helps them frame things up a little bit more. So we went from really high level, and then we went into, okay, here are the certain sections, communication, what should they answer, what should they not, what is a great outcome, what does a great job look like? So all these questions spurred different ways of thinking about things. And the way I helped them kind of wrap things up was, okay, imagine a day in the life, and they're coming to work. What are the things they do? Do they go to stand-ups? Do they show up early? Do they understand your context a little bit? And I think through this process, everyone was kind of taken on the journey to sort of getting this outcome. And what we actually did when we got to a point where we played back everything, so they framed it all up, everyone had a little avatar drawing of their agent, and everything was in sticky notes. And it seemed like it was a bit more of a wireframe. So if you think of the design process, kind of like an agent wireframe, you're kind of bringing in all of the information, you're discussing, you get alignment, and you're crafting this kind of wireframe to then go into more of a mid-fidelity design, where you start to actually get on the laptop and then use a tool. So we used a little tool called Runbear, which is a great little integration tool, and it's really simple. So the great thing is it played into our process quite well, because we'd had crafted all these things. We had some really sort of high level framing. And so the great thing about Runbear is it's 10 minutes, no code. You can use a magic wand if you want to. You can input and you can craft your system prompt along with the particular feature that you're using. And it helps you craft it, but I think it's also important that you have a vision first, and then you put your vision and you craft it around it. And so there, everyone's like, oh, it's crafting magic. And they could see how it was taking parts of their kind of vision and then crafting it into a system prompt. So it gives you a good baseline. And from there, we started integrating into Slack, and they could start to see the agent start to respond. And so from there, you go into testing and iteration. So you're testing to see if you get the responses that you want, and then you can go in and you can update the system prompt depending on the kind of outcomes that you want. So there you go, and you're almost like, testing mid-fidelity designs in a way.
Yep. I haven't used Runbear, so I'm going to ask questions on it. Like, is that doing the prompt engineering for you, or did you already have, I guess, some prompts that you started with and then transferred that across to Runbear?
Yeah, so it gives you a really good baseline. So it gives you a great baseline of what a system prompt could be. So
Yep.
you input a name, you input, the role or the description of the agent that you want. And, it crafts the system prompt for you, which is great. But I also think that you need to kind of have that vision and alignment within the team before, you start crafting these, so that that's aligned before going in. So I think these, the sort of workflow goes hand in hand, testing and refining, getting alignment, having a great tool that can help you craft a best practice system prompt is also very helpful as well.
Okay. What's the difference between using something like Runbear for this as opposed to a GPT?
So yes, there's so many different things. So
Okay.
GPT is great for individual use. So, if I was to go in and do some brainstorming, I can input a system prompt or custom instructions into my GPT, and it acts as a great assistant. So with Runbear, if you're thinking, and I think the best value is in a team environment. So you can use, and if you're using Slack or you can use Teams, it integrates into different channels. You can use Slack as your knowledge base. So as a team, if you are, let's say you've got a channel dedicated to design and you run design critiques, or you brainstorm, or you do a lot of sharing on a specific channel, it can learn from your interactions It can learn how individuals behave. It can remember things, and you can actually ask it to document in Notion, and you don't need to change the system prompt. It does it all for you. So you connect, you write a critique, and you say, can you please document the key actions and recommendations in Notion from Slack? And it will go and document those in Notion. Can you set up a scheduled calendar invite for next week so that we can talk about the feedback and how we've implemented it? You just need to connect your calendar, and it can do all that for you. So it's almost like, yes, it's acting as a mentor and it's empowering the team, but it's also helping with some of these day-to-day tasks that as designers, I know that I'm not particularly, looking forward to having to document all the time, and sometimes I'm not very good at documenting. So yeah, it just takes some of those day-to-day, tasks off your hands. So and from there, it's you just keep building.
How good. Yeah, I use agents for everything. There's so many tasks that I don't like doing, and
Yep.
it's so much faster when I build something to do it for me. But like we've talked about, I guess, the AI agents here, and that's a really good sort of intro for anyone to sort of see a user case for how to use AI in their day-to-day job. I guess going that next step beyond that, like it doesn't matter your skill set, there's an AI tool out there that you could use to enhance some part of your job. How do you land on the right toolkit? Because like there's a new AI tool every day. And if like, it's like drinking from a fountain or hose, whatever. How do you define the toolkit that you want to use in your job? Is it a similar process to going, all right, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve here? Like just taking that design approach again. And then looking at, okay, there's 10 tools here. How do I test the ones that I think are going to be the most valuable and give me the best output? Like, what's your approach to building a toolkit pending, I guess, the role you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So the way I started was really identifying a workflow or a process that I did every day that I wanted to automate. I think it's also good to learn from someone who has spent a lot of time exploring these areas as well. So when it comes to a toolkit, just focusing in on a specific set of tools rather than going wide and being distracted by all the shiny tools. Like get really, really good at using 1, 2, or 3 tools. So even now, like I use large language models. I use ChatGPT as my key, I guess you would say, workhorse for prompting and for that end-to-end design process. It's given the time that I have to be able to explore. I obviously, a lot of what I do is my side hustle. So I try and think about, well, how much time do I have to explore? How much time do I invest in this and just get really, really good at this particular tool? And I use, the frameworks. Once you know the frameworks of prompt engineering, that can be applied to any tool. So any of those large language models. So I get really good at, what is the consistent tool that I need throughout my process, and that is what I use, like prompt training, ensuring that, the information that created at the start from idea all the way through to high fidelity wireframes, it's a full chain for me. And I use ChatGPT throughout that whole chain. Within that chain, I use other tools, like Midjourney. So for bringing things to life, creating persona imagery, creating day in the life, really, focusing in on, one tool to do that really well. Obviously, there's so many other tools that you can use, but I think, well, I just need to get really good at this one tool, and this is the professional grade tool that will help me achieve my goals. And from there, look, it just depends on like the outcomes really. So there's obviously no code tools that I haven't explored as much yet in AI prototyping. That's another lovely shiny
Yeah.
toy in the corner that I really want to get to.
So,
But yeah, like obviously tools like Reloom for creating sitemaps and wireframes and really being able to use those prompts to then be able to define, you know, a sitemap and a bunch of wireframes is really quite powerful, and it's really an efficient process. But there's obviously other ways to do this as well. Like there's other tools out there that can create wireframes, and it just depends on, is that going to integrate well into my current flow? Yes or no? And do I have the time to go out and explore all of these other tools? Like
yep.
maybe not. Maybe I just need to really focus on the tools at hand and get really good at them. And actually for Run Bear, this is, you know, some exploration I've been doing into agents this year. So that is kind of my one area of exploration. And what I've wanted to do is to really cement that kind of exploration is to explore, experiment, and then try and teach it, because that's how I really think that you learn and you really start to understand how you can, you know, start adapting a new process in a tool by teaching it as well.
I agree. So why did you land on Runbear? This seems like a podcast on Runbear at the moment, but why did you land on Runbear as a platform? Because there's quite a lot of different tools that you can use here. Was
Yeah.
this the one that you just liked? You found it simple, so
I think it was just the integration into team channels for me.
okay.
And I just take a team perspective on things more so.
Yep. So I guess using, we've talked about building an AI agent here specifically for mentorship. How do you think, I guess, an enterprise could use this, or any design team, right? Like, actually, circling back to something that you said earlier, you could have taken your career in two directions. And it's funny because I feel like the directions are probably more cemented now in terms of maybe career objectives or career directions for designers. Like you could go like the super IC path where you just really focus on the craft and you become like an AI led designer, or you could go down the leadership path, which I think if we look at the history of the leadership role, you go from being very good at something and then you move into a management role. And I don't think there's going to be as much opportunity in that career path anymore. Like if you look at a design team in an enterprise, maybe they've got 100 people, maybe they've got 200 people. I think the future of a design team within an enterprise is going to be a lot less designers and a lot less people, because they're going to be able to do more with less. But I do think AI is going to become more accessible to all companies. So it means one designer can go in and kind of act like a design team for a small to medium sized company, which is a little bit more exciting. So I think you've been able to take probably your career in the right direction there, because there's not going to be as many of those management roles. But now how can you, I guess, start building AI agents that can equip you in different ways, not just as sort of a mentor? Like, how else can you sort of build your team of AI agents to make Kristin the, I guess, I don't know, just the design team herself? Like, how do you start thinking like that AI is here to help you? So what's the tool set that I'm going to start building? What are the AI agents that I can start building? So if you went into an environment where you are the only design, you're not going to feel like, I don't know, overwhelmed, because you kind of, you've equipped with the right sort of tools and capabilities to be able to get a good outcome.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if it is, you know, AI human dream teams, I guess it depends. It's almost like going back to yeah, like mapping out the kind of capabilities and the skill set that you need to perform that specific task. So when I have been exploring AI and human dream teams, it's when you get multiple agents working together, you actually need a team lead to come in
Yeah.
and help orchestrate your agents as well. So it's almost like identifying the human capability and skill level and looking at, the gaps in which need to be filled, ensuring that your AI dream team is aware that they are collaborating with a human. They're also aware of each other, and they're also aware of the dynamic environment in which they work. So maybe there's a team lead that helps direct tasks to the different agents depending on what you may need. So let's say, you're in a startup and you need to wear many hats, and you might be, okay, I am the UX UI designer, I'm the web designer, I'm the website designer, I'm the community and engagement, community and engagement coordinator. I write all the social media posts, so you have to
Let's hope
think
not.
about, yeah, I hope not. Well, that's why we need to outsource that to an agent.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, you've got all of these, I guess you would say doers in the agent sense. So the agents that actually go out and write your social media posts, can potentially, get across all of your LinkedIn posts, can craft your tone of voice. You've got what were we using? You know, you still got the human in the loop as well. So you've got the orchestrator who is the human, but the human is also working with the team lead, and the team lead is directing the task to the specific agents. And you may be having a bit of a feedback loop to understand how those agents are working towards your overarching objective. So it's really important that you've got this overarching objective, and that can be defined by the company, the team in which you're working, to make sure all of those agents are working to that clear goal. I think that's really where it comes back to anchoring and making sure that the agents stay on track
Yep.
to help you achieve those goals.
Kind of fascinated with how things are going to move, like going back to, I think, design becoming more accessible to all businesses. I'm just like, where's the biggest opportunity? And that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. It's like, is it, because right now, I don't think AI is as design led, like design's not a big part of that process. But I was reading some articles last week, and I think it was like close to 80% of AI projects don't meet expectations or fail. And it's usually a lot to do with how that process is run. It's almost reverted back to old school processes where design wasn't a part of that picture. It was led by engineers or analytics teams. And that's how they're building the AI projects. And it's not custom led, it's not focused on the users. So, like, I see like a big opportunity there. How do you see like a designer like yourself going into an organization that maybe is running AI projects but doesn't have that design mindset? Like, where do you see the added benefit of bringing design early in on that piece to get that project working properly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess going back to, how we approached the workshop, helping, break down that technical jargon so that anyone can understand it. It really does come back to design. It comes back to, okay, in the future, we may not be designing interfaces. We'll be designing relationships. We'll be designing orchestration. And I think that comes down to the human, but ensuring that the right people are in the room to help define those relationships and understand those relationships. And what will actually set agents apart in the future, everyone can spin up an agent. There'll be tons of generic agents out there. But what it comes down to is actually deep domain expertise. And the deep domain expertise and domain experts will be out there. They'll be cloning themselves. They'll almost be branding it'll almost be a brand sort of awareness, value proposition. So I guess if I was going to come into a company, it would be design-led. It would be breaking down technical jargon. It would be ensuring that we've got the right people in the room from that initial discovery session, and to almost co-create these systems with the right people, rather than it just being, necessarily held by one particular department, because that's where you get adoption. If you build trust early on, if
Yeah.
people feel as though they are part of the process, you're co-creating, you're visible, you're transparent, you got the right principles in place, that's where the systems will be used and they'll be trusted. If it's just been, defined and designed, and you know, people are expected to use it, but it's not actually speaking in their tone. It's not actually, thinking culturally. It's not even thinking about, the context of the situation. There won't be any adoption, and that's kind of what we're seeing a lot of now.
Yeah.
It's been technology driven, and it's flopping because people aren't connecting with it. They're not connecting with it. It's not suiting, it's not answering their needs. So therefore they're not using it.
I actually see this as one of the biggest opportunities for design. I think it's a reminder of before design was like people just started building things, and I think they start building things and they're not necessarily building them for the right reasons, or they're not testing and understanding how the users are going to interact with them, and they build these, I don't know, AI agents or products or anything that just doesn't have the user in mind. And there's going to be so many features that people are like, what is this? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah, like I think that's where I think that 80% stat comes in. It's not being led in the right way. And I think it's
Yeah.
a huge opportunity. And this is where I think design's going to be able to impact a lot more small to medium sized businesses. And especially if it's just one designer going in and can kind of have a team of AI agents or tools that can kind of help that journey, which is pretty
Yeah.
exciting. So I think that's the fun part. Where else do you think like small to medium size or even enterprise can benefit from implementing AI to their process? Like, is it just the tool set itself? Like, what are your thoughts?
I was reading up about something yesterday, and it's called Centaur, and it's a new model that is trained to predict how humans actually think. And so, yeah, I know, I've gone down in a really big, deep rabbit hole here. So, look, if you think about, OpenAI and general large language models, they are trained on content we create, the world around us. This particular model is created by thousands and thousands of psychological experiments that can help us understand the human mind. So if you think about how we collaborate with OpenAI or, ChatGPT, and we may collaborate in a way where, help me brainstorm 3 ideas for, a health and well-being app that will help people create healthy habits. And it's something that we should all be striving to make, for human advancement, right? We want to improve human wellness, and so instead of that, that partnership of help me create these ideas and still having to go away and think about, how someone might interact, you still need to go around and test. You still have to go and test the specific onboarding process, or test that specific initial engagement to hopefully, prove value so that the user comes back and uses it again the next day. But with this new model, it kind of changes things because it mirrors how humans make decisions. So instead of asking, oh, help me create an interface, you ask a question like, what kind of experience would someone, and thinking about accessibility and inclusion here, what kind of experience would someone with, a low attention span, or someone who, only, with a low attention span, um, could um, could see sort of value in. And so from all of these experiments, it helps you actually understand how someone with a different level of understanding about things would actually be able to work through a workflow. It's something I've only just touched on, but I think that like models coming out, being trained on different types of data, will change the way we work in the future. Definitely.
It's changing so quickly, and this is the topic of conversation I keep having. We have no idea what we're going to be doing. Like, let's say from a design perspective, design's going to be completely different in a year's time. In 2 years' time, it might be like something that you don't even recognize. But I think design as a craft is still going to be super important. It's just going to look very different because you aren't going to be doing like maybe the UI at all. Maybe you're not even doing the UX. Maybe it's focused on like the service design piece and just managing a team of AI agents, but you still need to understand the craft, right?
Yeah.
But the role is going to be very, very different. Who knows? It's going to be interesting. But what are your thoughts on like the future of AI agents? Like you've kind of alluded to a lot of the benefits that we can get out of it now. Like, what are your thoughts in the future? Is it we're just running a team of AI agents and as a team lead? But like, what are your thoughts? Like, what's the like the space is moving so quickly. What should we be looking at from a trend perspective, or personally, what should we be trying to do, or as designers, what should designers be focusing on to sort of learn to educate around AI agents if that's where we're going?
Okay, so few things here. I think what I touched on before around AI agents, obviously, there will be autonomous agents going off and performing all these tasks. I think that there will still have to be humans in the loop, and that will potentially be a new type of sort of role for designers. So I guess ensuring that the quality standards are there through feedback loops. But I think that there'll be an interesting thing that sort of arises where, um, I could clone myself, Joe, you could clone yourself, and we could go off and run a design sprint together as AI agents. And so you'll find that subject matter experts with deep domain knowledge will start monetizing things potentially, downloading their knowledge into agents and looking at different business models like subscription models or things like that to monetize these things. And I think that that's already started happening. So if you think about, sports coaching, there will be, there'll be apps and agents coming out around how you may, become a better, you might improve your golf swing or something like that. In the mental health space probably as well. So I think it comes down to, there'll be deep domain expertise needed to help differentiate, general purpose agents to, branded deep domain human-led agents who, are quality assured by those deep domain experts. And there'll be also potentially design teams, but hopefully still with humans in the loop. But also there'll be agents that help empower design teams as well. So looking at the capability that you have right now and looking at how you upskill those design teams to give designers superpowers, and make them become better designers, and being a thought partner as well. So thinking about, how you take that learning journey from traditional design to AI-led design, and looking at how you sort of support your design team along the way there. Like, education is going to change quite a bit, I think, with agents and AI.
Have you started trying to clone yourself already?
um, I have been thinking about it. Yes, I have been thinking about it. I've been thinking about what I would need to do.
Yeah, I'm like trying to think through it. It's like, do you take the design process? So it's like, all
Yeah,
right, how do I clone myself? What are the skills that you actually want? What don't you want? How do we get it written down?
yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just getting your ideas out there, getting your content out there, producing things in your tone of voice, because you need all that. You need all that training data, right?
I got so much training data. I've downloaded all of my podcast transcripts, and I was like, how do I use this? But I want to actually just start writing articles, and I've got so much good content there. I was like, how do I use this? I just need to build an AI agent to do it for me.
Exactly.
I did have one question though. With AI agents, I guess AI, if it's not built in the right way and there's not, I guess, checks and measures, sometimes it could just be something that agrees with what you say. How do you put checks and measures in place to ensure that if you are building an AI agent, it's not just going to be saying yes and trying to make you happy. It's actually going to give you a contrarian opinion. Like, how do you build that into your agents?
Absolutely. So one of the key principles is, like, never pretend to know that you know something if you don't. Evidence-based, ensure that you cite the evidence that you use to back up your decision. If we're thinking about, different knowledge bases, it could be from different knowledge bases, or it could be from, different, publicly available information. But as long as there is a site, we don't want hallucinations. And you can also build that into, the tone or the communication style, you know, challenge me, push me, and it could be your own goal as well, or goal, push me to think outside of my, realm of comfort zone, or, it's just a principle that you can instruct it to not be agreeable. It's like a personality trait, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you ever connect in? Because like when I do research, I'll use Perplexity because like it obviously cites articles and you can click
Yeah.
through and find the articles and make sure that you're cross-referencing the right data. Do you
Yeah.
use anything like that in your AI agents, or is it just ensuring that you're putting it in the prompts to make sure that there is reference material there?
Yeah. So I was experimenting with, firstly with Kayam as a GPT, and this is before Kayam got turned into an agent. And so with the instructions, I would have strict instructions about, okay, so I wanted Kayam to help me uplift my prompts, based on inclusive design principles. So let's take an example like, I've got a prompt in there. The kind of response that I expect is, I want you to play back my prompt. I want you to call out, obviously call out what can be improved. I want you to update my prompt and give me some variations. And I want you to cite the evidence that you have used to improve that specific prompt. So that's like a really kind of basic way that I was framing it. And then from there, I gave it outcomes. So the kind of outcomes I would expect. And I also went through like a specific thought process that I wanted it to take as well. So that when it does come back, it had strict instructions to always cite and always go by a specific step-by-step process. So I
Yep.
guess in a way, what I was trying to replicate is what you get in Perplexity. At the time, I was just using ChatGPT and creating a custom GPT.
Yep.
But now as an AI agent, obviously you can get, you've got your own knowledge base. You've got the knowledge base that it can cite in different capacities. So it could be a thread from a conversation in Slack. It could be evidence on publicly available on the internet, or it could be, specific knowledge base where maybe I've done some previous research and it can cite some information from there.
Yep. Oh, good. I'm very excited about, I guess, what's coming. Like, I no idea what's happening, but it's, I think there's that scare factor at the moment that AI is going to take a designer's job or anyone's job, right? And I don't think that's the case. I think AI is here to help us and enable us, and jobs are going to change as they have in the past. Like, if we're speaking to a designer or a design leader, what's the first step that you would start taking? Would you just start? Is there anything that you would focus on? Would it be prompt engineering? Would it be using ChatGPT? Is there something that you would go to other than your course to really start getting into? How do I start upskilling? Because I think one of the biggest problems right now, if you're not upskilling, you are behind the eight ball. If you're working for a company that don't have any AI-led projects, which is most enterprises, actually just most companies. Like, there are small AI projects out there, but there's not much, and they're not including design at the start of that process. What would you do to start upskilling? Because if you're waiting for someone else to tell you to upskill or give you the opportunity to upskill, it's going to be too late. Where would you start individually?
Yeah, absolutely. If I had to start again, the first thing I would want to do is you got to carve out some time. You got to be really clear on what you want to learn. So you got to have some really clear objectives. What are the things that you want to learn, and how do those things align to where you want to go? So depending on where you are in your career, let's say I'm a senior and I'm looking to become more strategic. So maybe I want to use AI in a more strategic capacity, whereas someone in a junior level may want to use AI more as in an executional capacity. So it depends on where you are in your journey. You may use AI in different ways. And then from there, I'll be okay, well, I know that this is where I want to get to. What are the things that I need to do to get to that, overarching goal? And what role will AI play in that journey for me? Because AI can play many different things, and you can learn many different things about AI in general. So it's not necessarily on the tools and crafting. It may be just about changing a mindset, changing a behavior. How do you help me change my behavior and thinking about things? So in that capacity, yeah, obviously foundations are really important. Learning to speak the language of large language models, learning how to engineer prompts and design prompts in the right way, it's really important. Because once you know that language, you can speak that language to mostly any of the models, really. But you just have to know how to, you need to break down the technical jargon, and that's for going back, break it down and just learn and experiment and pick one tool and one task that you want to achieve, and just start really small. Have clear goals, carve out space for learning, and just work from there.
I agree.
Because you can, yeah.
I assume you've probably got your own prompt library, as do I. Let's say someone's starting from scratch. Like, actually, the best prompt that I got given was a prompt engineering prompt, and it's fantastic because it helps me build all of my prompts. Where would you start? Like, if you were a designer and you haven't got experience prompt engineering, which I think is probably the first place to start, where would you go to find prompts? Would you just YouTube it and go, hey, I need a prompt engine, I need to build a prompt to do this? Where would you start?
If I had no idea about AI, I think the prompt engineering is definitely the first place to start. Crafting a tool to help you learn that, definitely. I always like to go back to, OpenAI and just some of those documents they have, and downloading them, upload them to a GPT, craft a prompt to help your GPT learn from those documents, and become your own personal prompt engineer. Look, I think you can have a conversation. You can if you're wanting to, let's say you're wanting to craft a tool to help you learn to become a better prompt engineer, you can have a conversation. These are my objectives. This is where I want to go. This is the role that I want you to play. And look at some of those like documents from OpenAI or whatever large language you want to use, and craft a tool from there. There's also people that you can follow on LinkedIn. Like there's some really good people to follow that can help you break down the noise. Like there are LinkedIn posts dedicated to crafting prompts that will help you become more productive. So yeah, it's obviously people that you can follow on LinkedIn. There are also like free courses. OpenAI have free courses now. As well. So look at some of those key free courses just to get you started. You don't need to go and invest too much money. You can get started right away. But try and find a reputable resource, as we all should, and maybe even go in and ask ChatGPT. Okay, I'm just starting out. Craft me a 1-month plan to help me achieve my goal. There's so many different ways you can do this.
I think that's the easy, like it's making education become the more accessible, right? It's so easy to find it. Like YouTube used to be the go-to source to get a video, but now why watch an hour video if I can just chat GPT and it can write me a 4-prompt instruction kit that I can just follow and do myself? It's easier. If I ever have a question, I don't Google anything anymore. It's straight to ChatGPT or any other large language model. So, but Kristin, absolute pleasure always. I love having a chat with you. Just I think we're on the same page when it comes to a lot of this. Now, you've got Gen AI Labs and you've started doing a training course that you've been running, and that's going really well at the moment, is it not?
Yes, yeah, we've had some great feedback so far. So we've got a cohort of designers, product enthusiasts, like AI, anyone interested in AI. And so we've gone from idea and we've done foundational core foundations. Our last session was just over a week ago, and we started crafting stories. We started getting into personas. We started building out our personas, and seeing those come to life was really powerful because it just represented a very diverse range of people and ideas. And the cohort itself is just a really great diverse range of people as well. So yeah, we cover core foundations. We look into research deep dive, AI personas and storytelling. We go from storytelling all the way to like narrative wireframes, sitemaps, wireframes, and then we start on our branding and visual design from there on.
When's the next cohort?
The next cohort, or the third session of our series will be in August, 6th or 7th of August, I think. So that's when we'll be deep diving into user experience, which will be really cool.
Very cool. I'm excited. I want to do one of your courses at one point, but obviously we're in discussions. Hopefully we can get some enterprise training happening because I think that'd be pretty cool. And I think there's a big gap there as well. So fingers crossed. I've actually started the IDEO course as well. So we'll see. I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah.
But once again, it's an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. I can get you to send me the cohort link if anyone wants to sign up, but I'll chuck in your LinkedIn link as well if anyone wants to reach out directly.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Joe.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for jumping on.
So much pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Now remember, please hit subscribe. And if you could leave us a like and a comment, it helps people like yourself find the video.